Basic algebra. Algebra is a branch of mathematics that deals with mathematical operations and relationships involving variables, symbols, and equations. It is a way of solving mathematical problems using letters and symbols to represent unknown values, rather than just numbers. The main goal of algebra is to find the value of an unknown quantity by manipulating equations using a set of rules and principles. These rules include the use of arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, as well as the use of variables, exponents, and logarithms. Algebra is used in many fields of study, including science, engineering, economics, and statistics. It is a powerful tool for solving problems in a wide range of disciplines, from physics and chemistry to business and finance. Some of the key concepts in algebra include expressions. Algebraic expressions are combinations of variables, constants, and mathematical operations. Examples include x plus 3, 2 years, 5, and 4a squared plus 3b. Equations. Algebraic equations are expressions that state that two quantities are equal. For example, 2x plus 3 equals 7x, 4 is an equation that can be solved to find the value of x. Inequalities. Algebraic inequalities are expressions that compare two quantities using inequality symbols, such as greater than. For example, 2x plus 3 less than 7x, 4 is an inequality that can be solved to find the range of values for x that make the inequality true. Functions. Algebraic functions are equations that describe a relationship between two variables. For example, f(x) equals 2x plus 3 is a function that describes the relationship between the variable x and the output fx. Overall, algebra is a fundamental tool in mathematics and is used extensively in many fields of study. Quadratic formula? The quadratic formula is a formula that can be used to find the solutions, or roots, of a quadratic equation. A quadratic equation is an equation in which the highest power of the variable is 2, and it can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are constants. The quadratic formula is x equals b plus or minus b squared, 4 acres, 2a. This formula gives the two possible values of x that satisfy the quadratic equation. To use the formula, you simply substitute the values of a, b, and c into the formula and simplify. If the value inside the square root, called the discriminant, is negative, then the equation has no real solutions. If the discriminant is 0, then the equation has one real solution, and if the discriminant is positive, then the equation has two real solutions. For example, consider the equation x squared, 5x plus 6 equals 0. Here, a equals 1, b equals minus 5, and c equals 6. Substituting these values into the quadratic formula, we get x equals dash minus 5, plus or minus 5 2 to 4 1 6, 2 1 x equals 5 plus or minus 1, 2x equals 3 or 2. Therefore, the solutions to the equation are x equals 3 and x equals 2. What other parts of algebra? Algebra is a broad and complex field of mathematics, and there are many other parts of algebra beyond the quadratic formula. Some other important concepts and techniques in algebra include linear equations. A linear equation is an equation in which the highest power of the variable is 1. Linear equations can be solved using techniques such as substitution, elimination, and graphing. Polynomials. A polynomial is an expression consisting of one or more terms, each of which is a product of a coefficient and one or more variables raised to non-negative integer powers. Polynomials can be added, subtracted, multiplied, and factored. Exponents and logarithms. Exponents and logarithms are two related concepts that involve expressing numbers in a different form. Exponents are used to represent repeated multiplication of a number by itself, while logarithms are used to represent the inverse operation of exponentiation. Complex numbers. Complex numbers are numbers that consist of a real part and an imaginary part. They are used to represent quantities that cannot be expressed using only real numbers, such as the square root of a negative number. Matrices. Matrices are arrays of numbers that can be used to represent systems of linear equations, transformations, and other mathematical objects. Matrices can be added, subtracted, multiplied, and inverted. Functions. A function is a relation between a set of inputs and a set of possible outputs with the property that each input is associated with exactly one output. Functions can be represented using algebraic expressions, graphs, and tables. These are just a few examples of the many different parts of algebra. Algebra is a fundamental tool in mathematics and has applications in a wide range of fields, from science and engineering to economics and computer science. Let's dive in. Give an example of the formula for all 6. Sure. Here are examples of each of the 6 concepts I mentioned earlier in algebra. Linear equations. A linear equation is an equation in which the highest power of the variable is 1. An example of a linear equation is 2x plus 3 equals 7. We can solve this equation by isolating the variable x on one side of the equation. 2x equals 7 to 3. 2x equals 4. X equals 2. So the solution to the equation is x equals 2. Polynomials. A polynomial is an expression consisting of one or more terms, each of which is a product of a coefficient and one or more variables raised to non-negative integer powers. An example of a polynomial is 3x squared, 5x plus 2. This polynomial has 3 terms, 3x squared, 5x, and 2. We can add or subtract polynomials by combining like terms. We can also multiply polynomials using the distributive property. Exponents and logarithms. Exponents and logarithms are 2 related concepts that involve expressing numbers in a different form. An example of an exponent is 2 cubed. This means 2 multiplied by itself 3 times, which equals 8. An example of a logarithm is log base 2 of 8. This means what power of 2 equals 8. The answer is 3, so log base 2 of 8 is equal to 3. Complex numbers. Complex numbers are numbers that consist of a real part and an imaginary part. An example of a complex number is 3 plus 2i. This complex number has a real part of 3 and an imaginary part of 2i, where I is the imaginary unit, which is defined as the square root of -1. Complex numbers can be added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided. Matrices. Matrices are arrays of numbers that can be used to represent systems of linear equations, transformations, and other mathematical objects. An example of a 2 by 2 matrix is 1 2, 3 4. This matrix has 2 rows and 2 columns. Matrices can be added, subtracted, multiplied, and inverted. Functions. A function is a relation between a set of inputs and a set of possible outputs with the property that each input is associated with exactly one output. An example of a function is f(x) equals 2x plus 3. This function takes an input value of x and outputs a value equal to twice x plus 3. We can evaluate the function at a particular value of x, such as x equals 5, by plugging in the value and simplifying. f5 equals 25 plus 3. f5 equals 13. So the value of the function at x equals 5 is 13. Like, comment, subscribe, to follow along for the trip.